After he was caught and convicted, Dennis Paulson agreed to sit down with Nightline while under house arrest to tell his side of the story. What do you say to the people who see these pictures, who watch those videos, and say this guy is a faker?
I'm not faking anything. I'm trying to fight this disease and try to get some kind of enjoyment out of life when I can.
He says...
Okay, let's go and have a look at that one more time. So this guy has been convicted of fraud. He said he is a veteran who was disabled and got over $1 million worth of checks. Caught.
Say to the people who see these pictures, who watch those videos, and say this guy is a faker.
I'm not faking anything. I'm trying to fight this disease and try to get some kind of enjoyment out of...
I'm trying to fight this disease and I'm shaking my head at the same time. That's called incongruent. So you've got to dig deeper with this guy. Plus, he's making beady eyes with the guy, thinking, if I keep my eye contact, he's going to believe me.
Life when I can.
He says it all started back in 1990. After serving just 2 years in the Navy, he says he started getting symptoms.
I couldn't feel the left side of my face and I was having chest pains. And I was 19 and I'm like, oh my God, am I having a heart?
The voice. When he doesn't have any resonance, no real deep bass tone, then your flags should be going up. For this particular guy who is lying, basically lying to this guy and to us, he is in his high-pitched voice. That's his scared voice. That's his, I'm not going to commit to what I'm saying here, so I'm going to keep in my high voice. It's high as in when someone rings you on the phone and you go, hello? And then you realize, oh, it's your mother or someone you know, and you go, oh, hi, yeah, no, I'm good. So your voice goes down into its natural rhythm and tonality and resonance. Whereas this guy, he's got a high voice. There's no one home here.
Heart attack.
He went to Bethesda Naval Hospital, and the doctors had bad news.
They gave me a probable diagnosis of MS.
A probable diagnosis.
Probable. And gosh, his face is just not believable.
What does that mean?
He might have MS.
Well,
He might have MS and he's a whole lot of shaking going on.
Paulson got a second opinion at the National Institutes of Health.
Within 5 minutes of him looking at the results of the Navy.
Within 5 minutes of him looking at results, again shaking his head and keeping beady eyes on him.
He goes, you definitely have MS.
No, he didn't. Let's have a look at that.
In 5 minutes of him looking at the results of the Navy, he goes, you definitely have MS.
You definitely have MS, shaking the head.
It was his ticket out of the Navy, a medical retirement, entitling him to 30% of his wages for life. No questions asked. But according to prosecutors, Paulson did ask questions. From 1997 on, Paulson convinced the VA he was 100% disabled, unable to use his hands or feet, unable to work, unable to walk. But the blog tells a very different story. I mean, look at these pictures. You seem like a very active father.
And that little face right there.
Very different story. I mean, look at these pictures. You seem like a very...
Okay. Those eyebrows, ever so slightly, came in together. And there's a little bit of fear. It's like, oh, you got those photos of me standing up and roller skating, even though I've got MS.
Very active father. Here you've got your boy in the swimming pool, on the swing set.
Yep.
Roller skating.
Yep.
Running. Playing football.
You see how I'm running? I have drop foot. So when you see I'm not pushing off, I know I'm not pushing off with that foot.
We'll spot you that one. Here you are on the beach, Mr. Muscles.
Yeah, it's not a muscle disease. That's what people don't understand. It's not a muscle disease.
It's not a muscle disease. Shoulders goes up because even he doesn't really know for sure.
Neurological disease.
And yet, how is it that you could be 100% disabled and run a race like that? I mean, if you're good enough to run that race, surely you're good enough to work.
Every job that I tried, I couldn't do, but I looked healthy enough to do it. I'd go out and work at lawn.
Notice his nervousness. He's full of the nervousness, and yet his beady eyes are still staring at the interviewer.
Doctor.
And he's shaking his head.
And try to open up the fertilizer bags, and the things would slip out of my hands. But here I am, I look healthy.
So he's overcompensating. He is using too many words. He's using a whole lot of knowledge to get to the point. However, if he was getting to the point and make more sense, you know you're listening to someone who's more truthful.
Always fight this disease. We wouldn't even be discussing this if I went to Afghanistan or Iraq and got my legs blown off and had to wear prosthetics.
So he's acting, as you can tell. Most people can tell he's acting because he's not convincing. You're an A actor, then you will get that inside your body that you've got MS. Everything about you, like if you're method acting, this guy's not method acting. That's why he's a terrible actor. But if he method acted that, he would come across a lot more authentic.
And then you see people with prosthetics competing at the Invictus.
And again, he's got a whole lot of fluffy knowledge. He's putting in a whole lot of useless information that's got really nothing to do with the fact that he has much more capable of work than he's lying about.
Games.
Surely you're not comparing yourself to those folks.
No, that's a disease. That's a problem that you can see, is what I'm saying. You can see that disability. They get looked at as inspiring. They're like, that's great. He's fighting through this. But I get looked at like I'm a fraud.
And he went all nervous and stiff. So if you see his upper body, it's very, very stiff. It's not casual, relaxed. He's stiff. And you can even see it in his mannerisms, his actual micro expressions. Have a look
That's
again.
great. He's fighting through this. But I get looked at like I'm a fraud.
He had to take a bit of a pause there. But if we look at this face, it was, I'm not a fraud. Please believe me.
Because you can't see the disease?
You were never in combat. You didn't even finish one tour of duty.
No.
Why does the military owe you a lifetime of benefits for 100% of your working life when you are fit enough to do all the active things that we can see you doing in those photographs?
He moved his head back on that, away from the question, because he didn't like the question.
Because I'm service connected.
He's not a wounded warrior, he's service connected. At sentencing, the judge ordered Paulson to pay back the $1.6 million plus a huge fine and serve 41 months behind bars.
He won't like that.
And no regrets?
I wish I'd never got diagnosed with MS.
Unfortunately, he's taking zero responsibility. Take responsibility. Be honest with what you did. You've been caught.
I'd give anything not to have this disease.
I believe you. I believe you on that.
But you don't believe me on everything else.
And neither does he, because there we go. Duping delight. He's laughing because he recognizes someone else who doesn't believe him.
It's tough to. The jury didn't buy it.
The jury-
Why should our viewers?
Nobody on that jury has MS. I didn't get a fair trial because I didn't have a jury of my peers on that jury.
What do you mean? The jury should have all had MS?
At least one or two people should have had MS on.
He's reaching, as you can tell.
I think the jury was certainly left with the impression that you were dealt a bad card and you played it for all it was worth.
Not true at all.
True, you've got one shoulder going up. That is absolutely a lie. When someone brings up one shoulder, they are completely incongruent with what they're saying.
Not true at all.
Again, twice. A brief video of a guy who basically frauded the system. I wanted to showcase examples of someone who isn't congruent or telling the truth. Thanks for watching. This is The Dialogue.